Hello, I hope you all are well so far. Welcome to the second video of the Discord MMORPG video series. In the previous video we developed the game entity class with its only functionality, which is supplying us with this name property, which will be used in many other classes of our game engine. So, but today we will actually develop a class which will be directly used in our game engine, not just as inherited class. We will write the so-called GameStage. So, the GameStage class will inherit the game entity class, and its main purpose is to give us a possibility how to handle locations in our game. So our game will contain stuff like characters, objects, all kinds of other things and entities, and somehow we need to assign them a location in our game world, and this will be handled via the game stage, where every game stage instance will correspond to one location. For example, one game stage for the marketplace, another one, for example, for the church, which is located in a village next to the marketplace, and so on and so forth. And every site where our game plays will more or less correspond to one stage or multiple stages, corresponding on how we link them together. For example, we could imagine a situation where we have one game stage which corresponds to a road, and the houses next to the road, each of them also corresponds to one game stage. And then there are possible connections between the stages, and every character, every object has some kind of reference to its game stage, which is basically just the location of our character or object, and then they can interact via the game stage with other objects and characters on the same stage. So, and as already mentioned, this class will be used for handling interactions between and what can these interactions be? For example, if we have two characters and they talk to each other, or we have two characters who fight against each other. For example, one attacks the other one. Or another possibility, we have some crate laying around on the street, and there's a tough adventurer who is looting the crates and searching for gold inside. This would be also something. So, further we will inherit from our game entity class, which we previously developed. So we also need to import this one from game entity. Entity import so first we need to actually reference our file, which is called game entity. There we import the game entity class and name it game entity. But now let's actually start writing down the game stage class game stage, which will inherit from the game entity class. So now let's also write the init method. So here we already see the auto-generated init methods, where it was detected that the GameStage class inherits from the game entity class. So this name variable defined in the game entity class is also already added to it, which should be a string. So and then we call the super method, which basically just allows us to call the parent class methods. So basically this just calls the constructor of the game entity, where this name property is defined. So what other functionalities do we need in our game stage class? First of all, we need a few variables. First of all, characters, which will be a list containing all of the characters currently located on the stage of game is located on this stage, and this can be players, NPCs, enemies, etc. At this point, the game does not distinguish between NPCs and players. They will be all located in the same list. Self underscore. Then we have also the objects list, which is list of game objects on this stage, which is basically non-living beings, for example, crates, armor stands, torches laying around, tables, chairs. So, for example, crates, torches, so, and then we need another one, which will be the list for our game connector. So, what are these game connectors of GameStage? Each connector allows us to create a connection between two stages. For example, if we have one game stage corresponding to a room, another one corresponding to another room, and then there will be one game stage connector who connects these two stages and allows characters to travel from one stage to another. And the mapping of the stages, how they are linked together, will be handled by these connectors. So, list of game stage connectors. Connections, stages. So, for example, in the example of two rooms, the game stage connector would also be somehow correspond to some kind of object, a special object in the world, which is not contained in our object list. This connector would then correspond to a door, for example. Or if we have a long road and we say one part of the road is one stage and then the next part of the road is another stage, then the connector would correspond to some kind of action by walking down the road, but this will be all handled later. So handling connections, travel between stages, and this is already all the things we need. So then now we need several methods. So first of all, def get characters, just turn, which is a method which returns us the characters list. Then yeah, for game for game characters. Then we also need a method add character, which will add a new character to our existing game stage. So self.characters.append character. So later we will also rewrite this method slightly, that it will be it will be checked that the game character we add is not already contained in this stage. For example, that we cannot add a character twice to a stage. Then we also need a method remove character self.characters.remove which is basically this similar method, but this one removes a character from our stage, so basically this list, and safety will be also added later. Then we also need to repeat this code 2 more times for our game objects, and then for our game connectors. Game objects, add object, and let's do it like this. So here we need character. We want to replace it with object. So wrong button. We just so now we repeat the same thing with for our game. For our game stage connectors, and here we say character will be replaced by connector. So connectors, that. Yeah, and this is already the game stage. I won't write some testing code. We will write this testing code later when we also wrote down the game characters class, and then the game object and the stage connectors. Then we will write down this class further. In the next video we will develop one or two things, maybe the game character class, or we will extend the game entity class by 2 other properties, which will allow us to assign more properties to our classes. For example, some kind of description text, which allows us to add some text defining objects. For example, for our game stage, that we have a description text which says this is the house of a famous merchant living in this town, where we can add some lore texts in our game engine, then maybe also some hints or some tutorials and guidelines for the corresponding stage object, or whatever we want. But I will decide this later, and I will create videos for both of these patches separately. So then thank you for listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you the next time. Stay curious, and bye.